Hello everyone, welcome to Emaan's garden channel. Today I want to show you how I water my orchids. Most of you ask me questions how I manage watering my orchids, all of my orchids. I have lots of orchids. I don't know, maybe 200 orchids I have. And today I decided to water them because I watered them 20 days ago because I didn't have time with my studies and with my kids. It's too hard for me to take care of my plants, and everything together is hard. And making, of course, these videos for you, it's hard, little bit tricky. And today, anyway, I'm watering my orchids, as you see in front of you. My orchids, I took them from the top shelf and put on the floor. Every time when I water my orchids, I take them from the shelf and I check them if they have dry leaves or if something happening with them. Anytime plants can die or they can have pests. That's why every time when I water, I take my plants and check thoroughly while I'm watering. And here, as you see, my orchids, they're all safe and pretty. Last time when I was watering, I found spider mice on my orchids, and I sprayed some neem oil on the leaves. First I sprayed alcohol, then after that I sprayed neem oil. I washed the leaves, I gave them shower, I did everything with them. And today, for my surprise, I found something which made me sad. This orchid is dying, as you see, that one. Probably after I gave shower, then I sprayed neem oil. After that I dried them under the fan, but I don't know, maybe the water stayed there, and this orchid has black rot now, and it's dying. Probably in the next video I will show you how I save this kind of orchid. And let's start. Let me show you how I water. Here, as you see, all of my orchids are healthy, pretty healthy. They love this kind of watering. I have orchids which I planted in different ways, and I wanna see which way is suits for me in my environment. Of course, I wanna make something easy for me. I want to find the way which doesn't take lots of time. And of course, at the same time, it will make my orchids happy. And that's why I planted my orchids in different ways. Here, all of these orchids are planted in pine bark mulch. I showed you that method, how I'm planting my orchids. And here are some orchids which are in coco peat. Here, this is coconut. It's planted in coco peat. I will show you. See, it's growing crazy. It's very healthy orchid, and now it's growing new spike. See, it's okay. I didn't change its medium. It came with this medium from the store, and it's still sitting in this medium because I see it's happy and nothing wrong with this orchid. And all these roots were grown in my care. And here you see I have an orchid. It's sitting in bark, and it's okay. And here I need to show you something, and I will show you that method. Here my water, every time when I water my orchids, I fertilize them. This water is with fertilizer. At the end of this video I will show you how I make this fertilizer. And here you go that way and show how I am watering my orchids. Here see, this is different method. These pots are sitting in another pot. See, both of them are clear pots, and whenever is water goes down up to here, and it doesn't touch my orchid pot, I fill this pot up to here, and I show you how I do it. This water, I'm putting water here. See, this way I don't need to make wet all top. Just from one side I put water, and water comes up to here, and I filled my pot. I water this orchid like this, and as you see, nothing is wrong with this orchid, and it's happy. You know this orchid, I planted twin orchids in one pot. I showed you that method, and this orchid is growing baby, and from this baby it's growing spike, and soon we will see these blooms. And here I have my mini orchids, and what I do, I already watered them, and I have video about these orchids, how I watered them. I showed you already. Anyway, I will explain for those who didn't watch that video. What I do, I just put water from top and fill this container with water, and the water comes up to here, and these orchids will sit in this water half day or more than 2 hours. Mostly I leave them for half day because I don't have time immediately to pour the water, but it's not dangerous. They can sit in the water for 1 day even. At least they need to sit 2 hours, because we need to wet all these roots, and the medium needs to get moist. It needs to be wet. Let me show you. This is planted. This one is planted in sphagnum moss. You see, sphagnum moss and bark. It's mixed, and I don't have any drainage holes in this pot, and I fill it. After it sits half day or at least 2 hours, I pour that water. And here, these pots, how I water. These pots I water just like this. I make the top moist. See? And fill this pot, this decorative pot, with water. Just like this. See? And you need to see my beautiful blooming orchid, and I water it. Let me show you the pot. See, this pot is extremely dry. There is no sign of water. It's better to water them in 10 days, but this time I am late because I had no time to water my plants. But anyway, they're happy, they didn't die. And now, see, I filled water up to the stem, main stem, up to here. I filled the water, see how it's sitting, and I will leave it just like this. And see, here, my other orchids, they are all in spikes and in blooms. they are growing spikes. This spike I broke last time, and this orchid decided to not to give up. It's again growing spike from the place where I broke. See, I broke this spike, and here another spike is growing. And here from the last year spike, this orchid decided to grow another spike. See, here, from here it's growing. And this orchid also is growing spike from the last year spike. And these orchids I already watered. I filled with water these pots. As you see, this pot is has water. I don't know if you can see. I put already water, and after some time I will pour that water. And let me show you other orchids, how I water them. I will show you. And here are on the table are 4 kinds of orchids, planted in 4 different ways. I mean, these orchids, these 3, were sitting just like this, and I was filling this plate with water up to here, as I showed you in that room. But then later on, because I saw that these orchids they grow lots of roots, and then they didn't like that way of growing. Some orchids, they really love this way, as you saw in that room. They bloom crazy, they grow crazy. But some orchids, they don't like that method, and these orchids, they didn't like that method. That's why I put plate, the bigger, wider plate under them, and I will show you how I water them. Now I started watering them just like this. Whenever I see the pot is light and there is no sign of water in the pot, I water. I just watered these orchids, and it came to my mind that I need to show you how I am watering, because most of you ask me in the comments about how I water all of my plants. And even though I watered them, I decided to show you how I water. It's not nothing, but you know, it's supposed to be very dry, and these roots need to be gray like this, silver color. And how I water, I will show you. I just put water like this, just like this much. And when I put this much water goes under the pot. In this pot, this is too much. If I see this much water goes down, I just take this water and pour, because it's too much. If this much, I leave it, because this water will go again into the pot, and these roots will take this water. And this much is enough. See how much is that? 1/3 of cup, I think. And this here I put some sphagnum moss, but under this sphagnum moss it's bark. I put this moss because I wanted to make these roots, aerial roots, moist. I wanted to keep them moist and that's why I put some moss here on top. And I water it same way. See, this much water I put, and the water comes down. Because I watered them already, that's why water comes immediately, and it stays here, a lot of water. But when the pot is extremely dry, this much water doesn't come out so fast. It will stay inside the pot, and what is left, what is extra, it goes down. But now they are not thirsty because I watered them already. This water goes down very fast, and I don't need to this water now in my plate. That's why I pour them. And here I have another orchid. this orchid I saved, and I already showed you this method. Dying orchids you plant in moss with no drainage holes, and see how they are growing roots. And this orchid, see, it's a growing spike. And how I water it, I just fill it with water just like this, and I will leave it. I start watering when I see sphagnum moss extremely dry like this. See, this is extremely dry, and I water that time. It takes 10 days or more than 10 days until the sphagnum moss gets dry. This method suits for me, you know. And after 2 hours or half day, I pour this water and I leave it just like this. And here is the other method. You know already this method also. I planted my orchid in a cola bottle. See how I did? I made here drainage holes. I cut it, and see the roots, they go down and they drink. They don't rot. See, healthy green roots. And this orchid is sitting in this method more than a year, probably 2 years ago. I planted them in this method. And how I water, whenever I see there is no water, or water goes down up to here, I fill this with water, with fertilizer. Every time I water my orchids with fertilizer. See how I fill it? See? And these roots which are sitting in the water, they never rot, because you know, they grew in the, you know, they grew by themselves into this water. That's why they get used to be in the water. That's why they don't rot. If you plant your orchid and you have long roots, and if you let them sit in the water, they can probably rot, because they didn't used to sit in this kind of method. This method is for those who doesn't have time to water, and or they travel a lot. This water escapes in months. It takes months or more until this part of the bottle gets dry. And this is orchid which somebody gave me, and this orchid is sitting in sphagnum moss. I didn't replant it yet. I see everything is okay, and I didn't replant it, but soon I need to check the roots and replant this orchid. But first I wanted to make it strong. See, every time I give this orchid calcium and Epsom salt and orchid fertilizer, 3 fertilizers I mix together, and this orchid is getting more healthy and healthy every time when I water. And even it grew this new leaf in my care. See, it had soft leaves, and these leaves were very light green. My orchids, they have this kind of dark green color, and the leaves are strong, perky, and they look up even though they get big like trees. See that orchid? You see that? It's big orchid, but the leaves are not looking down. It's growing like tree. That's because I give calcium every time when I water. That's why these orchid leaves are strong. When they look down, it means they want to drink. At that time, my orchid leaves, they become a little bit softer and they look down. And that time I water them. See this color and this color, compare them. This is more light and this is dark green, because this orchid is new in my collection, and now I am feeding it, and when I make it strong I will replant it. And how I water, I don't soak it, I just put water just like this, see? And I make all sphagnum moss moist, and if the water comes down, I don't let it sit here, because this is sphagnum moss, it will absorb more water. That's why I don't want to make it soggy. And if water comes down, I will pour it. I don't need it. And just like this I water my orchids. This orchid is growing new spike here, and it's growing secondary spike from last year's spike. See, this is old spike and this is secondary spike. Here, see, I cut from this part and it's growing this spike now, and I will have 2 spikes. And if I don't show you this part, you can think that this is spike, 1 spike, but no, I don't cut my orchid spikes, because my orchid, they bloom from last year's spike every time. That's why I don't cut. And here is an example for this. This orchid grew spike and it bloomed, and from that spike it's growing another spike, see? And they're so happy. You need to find out the way, which way your orchid likes. You need to use that way. I grow my orchids in different ways to make my life easy. I want to see which method is the best. If you want to know which method is best for me, I will tell you. The way my orchids, they are planted in this kind of pots, and they sit in a decorative pot, and I fill the pot with water up to here. Watering that way works great for my orchids, because the leaves always bigger and bigger, and the blooms are better. That method I love more. But you know, with timing I have problem. That's why I use this method also. I want to see how my orchids react to this method. This method doesn't work for all kind of orchids, because some of them they like, some of them they don't like. But this is also comfortable. You just fill water up to here and you leave it. Whenever you see the water goes down up to here, you fill again. When the pot is extremely dry, you fill water up to here, and that's it. This is also easy method, watering of your orchids. And this also is easy, because it doesn't get dry very fast. Whenever you see sphagnum moss extremely dry, crispy, you fill water and you pour that water, and that way you leave it. It's also comfortable, because you don't make here the drainage holes. You need to see if this method will work for your environment or not, because this method doesn't work for some people, for some environments. And this method also is comfortable, very comfortable. You just fill water, and you don't need to care about your orchid for months, even more than months, until this water escapes from this part of the bottle. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe my channel if you are not subscribed yet. If you like this video and you found this video beneficial for you and you learned something from this video, please put thumbs up, and see you later. Bye.